This is always an exciting time of year for many, many families. It's a time of graduations, colleges, high school, and even our own Notre Dame here. On Thursday, just a few days ago, we had the baccalaureate mass for the 8th graders that are transitioning to high school. So we had all the families and the graduates here on Thursday evening, and it was an exciting time, but also a bittersweet one, because that was their last school mass together as a class. And many of them have been together since kindergarten, so 8 years together, and now they would all scatter across, go in different schools. So at the same time, it was exciting and sad, and it's always a heavy moment because you realize how fast they're growing up. I used to teach this class, religion, when they were in 7th grade. And to go from 7th graders, and within that 1 year, especially with the young men, they would go from, "Good morning, Father," to all of a sudden, "Good morning, Father." So, whoa, where did this man all of a sudden come from? Because that time period, isn't it? The time of change and growth. And which is why during that time period, here as a parish, we're mindful of that. And in particular, I want to invite those with mothers and daughters, especially at those critical time periods, to grab a parish bulletin, because we're offering a mother-daughter program, as we did last year. And if you have daughters in those ages, just, again, grab a bulletin. There's a younger age group for daughters and a little older ones, to help in that time of transition, because as they grow up, does conflict lessen or increase at that time period? Oh, we all know those crazy teenage years are always hard, because what is happening? Well, the little ones are starting to assert their individuality. And as parents, you know that transition could be better. Is there more peace or less peace? We all want peace, don't we? We all want peace in our homes, our families, our relationships. We want peace in the parish, peace in the world. We want peace in our hearts. And it's precisely this peace in which our Lord here speaks poignantly. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. But notice what happens next. But not as the world gives do I give it to you. So all of a sudden now, Jesus is making a stark demarcation between I'd offer his peace versus the world's peace. He's making a difference between the two, so it forces us to ask, well, what is the difference between the peace of Jesus Christ and the peace of the world? What is the difference? So there's a new Mission Impossible movie out right now. I don't know if many of you have seen it. It's, Mission Impossible 50. I don't know, there's so many movies now. It's going to be amazing. I'm sure we're all going to watch it sooner or later. But did you know that Tom Cruise used to be Catholic? Not even that. He used to be a seminarian. Tom Cruise was going to be a Catholic priest. But sadly now he's left the Catholic Church and joined that made-up religion of Scientology. And in a famous interview in the 90s, he was being interviewed on 2020. Do you remember that TV show? Does it still exist? I don't know. But he was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and he was sitting down, and in this interview, he captures perfectly what the world believes how we get peace. He asked He was asked by Barbara, Tom, you used to be Catholic, but now you've joined the Church of Scientology. What happened to you? Why did you leave the Catholic Church? And he sat back and he looked directly at Barbara and he says, so many people, you have to follow someone else's laws and rules. But we in Scientology, we make up our own. And he sat back and with his $1 million smile just was so full of himself as if he had just said something profound. But for us biblical people, that's nothing new. That's regurgitated serpent speak. Harken all the way back to Genesis chapter 3. Remember what the serpent said to Adam and Eve? Did God really tell you that? What does the serpent attack? Question God's will and commandments. And if you want to be happy, eject yourself from that oppression. That's essentially what Tom Cruise was saying. It's nothing new. Probably the greatest philosopher which holds its most impactful influence on modern man and our thinking is Friedrich Nietzsche. That German philosopher, he coined that famous phrase, God is dead. Essentially what he was doing in that book that he wrote, he's saying that we no longer need God as a source of inspiration to explain the universe. But rather, what he put in replacement of God is the self. And he coined the term the Übermensch in German, which simply means, and translated into English, is the Superman. Meaning, in order for us to achieve fulfillment and self-realization, is to unyoke ourselves from the chains of Christianity, and particularly the Catholic Church. Because what is the Catholic Church but is the dominant civilization maker in the world, especially in Western civilization. We cannot separate the two, by the way. Western civilization and the Catholic Church, they are harmoniously intertwined. And so the modern project is to diverge ourselves from that. And he speaks of the Superman, of this idea that we are unconstrained by external morality. And if we want to be happy and to achieve peace, it is the will of power, is the phrase he uses. That I must elevate my own will above all else. And then we discover peace. And isn't that so for all of us? And this idea of my will as the center of the universe infects us all. Because notice this now. Notice. When do I feel unpeace or restlessness? Well, it's when my will is not being done. You notice that? Notice whatever anxiety that we're all feeling in our lives. What's happening? Well, something that I don't want to happen is happening. And for me, my will to power is, in order to me to achieve that peace, I must control that thing. And I must twist it and conform it to my will. And I must align it to what I want. Then everything will be fine. The president has to be the president I want. The economy has to do what I want to do. My will has to do this thing. This person has to do what I want to do. And then if everything is orchestrated to my will, then peace. Where does that come from? Contrast that to this. Whoever loves me will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our dwelling with him. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. What Tom Cruise and Friedrich Nietzsche fail to grasp is love. Jesus gives us his commandments and his laws and unites it to love. And he's saying, in my will, in my commandments, and is submitting to me is the heart of peace. And it is a peace that goes beyond all understanding, because now if we are rooted in that version of peace, everything around us could be crumbling on our heads, not going the way we want. But if my heart is aligned to the will of God, then the peace comes. You see, that was the third temptation of Satan to Jesus in the desert. Throw yourself off the parapet of the temple, the serpent said to Jesus. That was a temptation of power. And Jesus says, no. If we want peace now, every single day we must choose to get to know Jesus, to pray, to struggle, to fight, to grow in love with him. And that is why, and I'll end here on this final note, remember what Jesus prayed before the night he was arrested. As he was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the weight of human sin upon his shoulders. In tears, our Lord cried out, Father, let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but rather your will be done. There's the secret to peace.